Good afternoon. Thank you again for tuning into the Thoughts from the Shepherd's Heart. I'm Pastor Henry Sanders with Faith Outreach Christian Center. We've been talking to you and we'll be talking to you for a while here on things that we've learned along the way. I've shared with you that I've been in the ministry a long time. I've seen a lot. I've experienced a lot. And I want to share with you. I want to try to give you a heads up. I just wish somebody, and I did have a few people along the way that had kind of given me some instructions and help that diverted me from some situations that could have been detrimental. So I want to share with you things that will give you a more successful, better, fruitful, productive life. I don't want you to have to always learn it the way I did, although I learned it. You could learn by instructions and information that somebody gives you, or you can learn by experience. That experience will usually come out with a few scars on you, but boy, you learn. Okay, I want to help you if I can. We've talked to you about, we only have one life, and it will soon be past. Life is short, eternity's forever. All your promise today is your promise today. Now, here's something else I want you to understand. My decisions today will determine my future. Things we've learned along the way. I think sometimes we don't conceive or understand that the decision I make today is going to affect the rest of my life. You are today as a result of a decision you made yesterday or days ago. And you'll be tomorrow by the decisions you make today. But most people don't give much thought about decisions. They just make snap decisions. They don't look at the consequences of it. They don't look at the good side or the bad side. They'll quit a job because they don't like it. I've counseled with guys, and I remember one time especially, I was talking to a young man, and he was just having a hard time at work, and they was giving him a bad time, and I said, look, you hang in there. You hang in there, because if you will, it'll pay off. In other words, if they get tired of you, they'll lay you off. But don't you quit. You know what? Some of the people that was giving him the hardest time in a few days, a few weeks there, they each one got moved into certain areas and different areas. And do you know what? Hey, listen to me. That guy has been on that job for 40 years. You hear what I'm saying? He has climbed up, not out of the manual part of this thing, into an office. He is well paid. He travels the world. Are you hearing to me? But way back there, it wasn't going the way he wanted to. He wasn't happy, and he was going to quit. And I remember my mother. This young man is part of my family. Okay, my mother sat him down and told him, says, just hold on, it'll change. And he made the decision, I'm going to stay. He's been at that job for over 40 years. He is one of the top offices in that business, and gets paid well, and he travels all over the world doing what he does. They've offered him opportunities to retire, the company does, but then they come back to him and say, this is, we're required to ask you to do this, but we really don't want you to, because your expertise and your knowledge here is more than what we could pay somebody else. Okay? And what I'm getting at, he made a decision. He could have made another decision, and he could have been, but instead he made a good decision. Your decisions today will affect your future. And that's the way God planned it to be. This is why I don't think you should just make a decision. You should pray about it. Find out what God, seek information, seek instructions, get counsel about decisions that's going to affect you and your family. And God will direct you to it. Now, I like what it says, Deuteronomy chapter 30 says this verse that we're familiar with. It says, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that it may, that both you and your seed may live. Did you hear what I'm saying? The decisions you make affects you, your family, your children, and your future. So that's why it's important. Get the information. Stay with God. Do what you need to do. Here's another one. Where God guides, he provides. Okay. Listen, follow the Lord. Be led by the Spirit of God. For where God guides, he provides. Listen now, his will never take you where his grace will not sustain you. That's a promise. Listen, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, he says, Paul's talking, he says, my grace is sufficient for me. Well, God's speaking to Paul, he says, my grace is sufficient for thee. For my strength is made perfect in your weakness. Sometimes we'll never understand or see God's power, God's strength until we see our weakness. And we realize we could not do that, but God did it. His grace. That grace means that God has done it for you. Okay. Now, here's another thing I've learned along the way. My example is much more important than the words that I speak or the message that I preach. My example is much more important. In other words, this thing about don't do what I do, you do what I say, doesn't float. Parents, it don't work. I remember one time when I was a young kid and we went to one of my relatives, and the dad was sitting in the living room smoking a cigarette, and the little boy reached over and he saw a little part of the cigarette was in an ashtray, and he picked it up and put it in his mouth, gonna be like his daddy, see? And boy, that daddy got upset and he slapped his hand. You put that down, you leave that alone. Don't you ever do that again? He said, don't you do what I do. You do what I say. Well, can I tell you something? That little boy grew up, become a teenager, and he just did what his daddy did because that was example set before him. Listen, that's not a principle of life. What we should say is follow me as I follow God. That's the truth. But sometimes, you know, I remember there's a little poem that we read at Father's Day sometimes. It says, talks about little feet, the little feet that follows the Father's footsteps. If you don't want your son going where you go, then don't go there, because they're looking for somebody to follow. It's an important thing. And, you know, it might not be a son. It might be someone that's looking for an example. As a pastor, I have to walk a path that's proper and right, and because I've got other people that's following me, watching me. And I want to be thankful to say, I'm leading them to the cross. I'm leading them to prayer. I'm leading them to the word. I'm leading them into victory. I'm walking the faith walk so they can learn to walk it. That's the thing that God wants us to learn. Now, here's another one. Happiness does not come from getting what we don't have. Okay? It comes from appreciating what we do have. I have seen more times that people, they get so excited, they're going to go buy them a brand new car. It's going to cost them $50,000. They're excited. They come home with that car. They're so excited. About 2 months later, you know, this car's really nice, looking good, drives nice. And they don't have buyer's regret and remorse. They just got remorse because they realize, I got 6 years of payments on this car now. And we were going to do this and going to do that. We were going to fix the house with this, but we can't because we got to do that. Or my wife's got to go get a job or a second job, and I got to do something. You see what I'm trying to say? It's like, it doesn't come. Happiness doesn't come from getting what we don't have. It comes from appreciating what we do have. Discontentment is probably the greatest destructive force in most lives. It's certainly one of the most destructive forces in marriages. You know, it don't have to be. People just sort of get discontent. You know why? Because hey, listen, God did not give me my wife to make me happy. He gave me my wife so I can make her happy. Okay? And I found out there's an old saying that says, when mama's happy, everybody's happy, and when she's not happy, nobody's happy. The truth is, this isn't about me being happy. It's me being able to help other people to be that way. And so I need to appreciate what I have. I've seen people miserable because they did not have what they wanted, rather than appreciate what they had. And they always live in debt. They always live miserable. Hey, listen, their discontentment goes way beyond not having the car they want or the house they want to live in. It goes into the marriage. It goes into, their job. Hey, I'm going to tell you again, I've seen guys that just get discontented with their job, throw it up there. Hey, listen, don't ever leave a job if you don't have a better one, okay? Now, that ain't smart at all. And when it looks like you're discontented with it, start praying about it. Maybe God does have a change for you. Maybe there is another job out there. You start praying. God will bring, but don't just jump because of being discontented. Do what you can to be happy with where you're at and what you got. Okay, here's another one. Beauty may fade, but inner character only becomes more beautiful through the years. In our bedroom, we have a picture of my wife and I 54 years ago. Okay, young and debonair, and didn't know what the future held. I was about 100 pounds lighter, and I tell you what, she's held on to hers pretty good. And I told her, I said, obviously we're older. She won't let me say old. I'll say, man, it's not easy getting old. She said, we're getting older, not old. And but I can take that picture and look at her today, and I realize there's some age there, some difference there. She's done a whole lot better job holding it together than I have. Our hairs are turning grayer. We joke and say, well, at least we still have our own teeth. But that outer beauty, we do what we can to keep it as long as we can. But I want to tell you, the thing that has impressed me most with my wife especially is her inner beauty, her character. Through the years, it's only become more like Christ. She's the most giving person, caring person, patient person. She's lived with me, so she's had to learn some patience. Faithful. There's so many adjectives I could name off to you on this young lady that God graced my life with. But I'm going to tell you, it's her character. I told her, I said, when I met you, I met this sweet young lady that I wanted to get to know better. And of course, sometimes when you get to know somebody better, you find out that there's some skeletons in the closet or some things that basically everything I found out about my wife as years went on were only enhancing things. I'm a blessed man. I am a very blessed man. And what I'm getting at is that works in your life too. Okay? Be more alert to building the character in your life than you are to just building muscles. It's about, does anybody see Christ in you? Proverbs 31 talks about the Proverbs 31 woman. I married one, and her beauty is there in the things that she lives and does, and thank God. There's another one, and I'm going to close with this one. My life is the only Bible somebody will ever read. They don't know Jesus. They don't have a Bible. The only way they are going to know Christ is through me. That might be the person at the store. It might be the person at the service station, next door neighbor. When they see us, do they see Christ? They can't read the Bible, but can they read my life and say, you know what? That's a good man. He's an honest man. He's a faithful man. He don't cheat on his wife. He's out there helping people. What do they see? You see, it's more than knowing to do right. It's doing it. I'm just encouraging you. You're the only Bible somebody will ever read. I'm going to see you next week. May God bless you.